ho! Merry Christmas! Just kidding, boys and girls. I'm not actually Santa, but I knew him. And this is the story of him and Mrs. Claus back when they were younger. The story of Dora and Chris, the Christmas love story. Story by Darren Temmel and Friends. Illustrations by Mariam Amir. Up in the North Country lay a quiet, cold, coal mining town. Surrounded by tall mountains, it was the perfect place to never leave. The local inn, with its warm cookies and warm welcomes, was, by golly, the center of the whole town. The center of that center was the innkeeper's daughter, Dora. The townsfolk adored her quick wit and the way her warm hugs melted a winter's chill. Chris, a young carpenter, was smitten with Dora. Every time Chris came by the inn to fix a broken thingamabob, they laughed the day away. Dora grew to love Chris's gentle heart and his big laugh. Chris admired Dora's bright ideas and gumption. Everyone in town, even the mice, thought they were a great couple. Desmond, the owner of the local coal mine, wanted Dora to marry him. When she refused, he angrily shouted that one day he would make her marry him. Then he stormed off to his mansion at the edge of town. Dora hatched a plan to escape from Desmond and live with Chris. They said goodbye to their loved ones and hiked high into the mountains to live together in a tiny cabin. It was the perfect place to hide. They decorated their cozy cabin with red curtains and holly wreaths. Then they tied sleigh bells to their doors. Chris showed Dora how to carve wooden stars, and Dora taught Chris how to bake gingerbread cookies. Dora spent many nights sewing Chris a bright red winter coat. Thrilled with his new coat, Chris wore it every day. Chris made Dora milk and cookies each morning. Their days whisked along happily. Dora and Chris made friends with a family of reindeer. Chris gave the reindeer nicknames after the ways they danced and pranced through the snow. The reindeer dashed over whenever Chris called them. One day, while Dora was out collecting firewood, a man on a red sleigh came to the cabin. When Chris stepped out to say hello, he saw it was Desmond. "Rah!" Desmond grunted as he threw a bag over Chris's head. Chris was being kidnapped. Desmond put lumps of coal in Chris's stocking. He wanted Dora to find the coal and come to his mansion to rescue Chris. Then he would demand that Dora marry him in exchange for Chris's freedom. With his panicked plan in place, Desmond took Chris back to his mansion and locked him away inside. Dora looked everywhere for Chris. When she found coal in Chris's stocking, she quickly understood Desmond's trap. Dora hatched a new plan to rescue Chris without ever leaving the mountain. Dora spent the whole night carving many wooden stars. She painted a message for Chris on each one. It said, "Follow the brightest star." That night, and every night after, Dora lit candles on the tall tree. From town, Dora's tree looked like the brightest star in the night sky. She hoped Chris could follow the lights back home. The next day, Dora saw children taking a sleigh ride over the mountains. She told them that Chris is missing. She asked them to hang her stars around town and search for Chris. Soon, all the town children joined in the search. They sang songs about Chris missing, and decorated every house with Dora's stars. That night, a young girl named Elfa spotted Chris locked inside Desmond's mansion. Hoping to rescue Chris, she climbed up to the roof, down the chimney, and into Chris's room. Chris was startled to see a little girl climb down the chimney. Elfa told him she is looking for a man named Chris and handed him one of Dora's stars. When Chris read Dora's message, he realized that the brightest star in the night sky would guide him home. He let out a jolly, "Oh, ho, ho," laugh and escaped with Elfa right up the chimney. They jumped into Desmond's sleigh. Chris then called out, "Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, take me home." In a flash, the reindeer flew out of the woods and pulled them through town so fast, you would think they were flying. Desmond furiously chased after them. The townsfolk were astonished to see Desmond, Chris, Elfa, and a family of reindeer racing up the mountain. Wanting to know how the story ends, they followed along. When Dora saw Chris arrive on the sleigh, she threw her arms around him and gave him a big kiss. Mwah! Suddenly, Desmond charged towards them. Dora jumped in front of Chris and shouted, "Desmond, you can't make me love you. I love Chris." Desmond screamed, "I own everyone and everything in this town." The whole town found out that Desmond kidnapped Chris. Everyone hollered and threw snowballs at Desmond. He got scared and ran off into the wilderness. Desmond never bothered Dora again after that night. The crowd let out a joyful hooray! Everyone was thrilled to find Chris. They all went back to the inn to celebrate. Dora's plan worked. Dora and Chris thanked Elfa and the children for their help. They promised to come home every year to give the children special gifts. Even after that night, the children everywhere continued to spread the joy of Christmasing to every corner of the world. With each retelling, the story grew more and more magical, until it became the Christmas story we all know so well. The end.